Hey everybody, I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you about your course embedded assignment. It's an assessment plan, and so I wanted to make sure that you understand exactly what you need to do. So first of all, probably the best place to start would be to start with a 3-day unit plan that's based on ELA. That can look however you want it to. It can focus on reading, writing, whatever falls under the aspect of ELA. And I'm going to give you some samples and show you some samples in just a minute. So once you've established your lesson plan, then what you want to do is we're really going to focus on for this class is the assessment aspect of it. So let's look at this assignment for a minute. So it says that the assignment will explain the design of your assessment plan to monitor your students' progress toward learning goals. So after you've created your unit, then we're going to look at the assessment part. So you're going to use multiple assessment modes to assess student learning before, during, and after your instruction. And these assessments should be authentically measured, and they should measure student learning, and they can include different tasks. I mean, we want them to look different. You might do paper and pencil, personal communication, things we want to see some with technology. So some different assessments for before, during, and after the unit. And then you're going to describe why you use these assessments based on the standards and how those measure the progress of your students. So what you're going to do is you're going to create the assessment plan, which is what I've already talked about, and you're going to create a plan that shows how you'll assess your unit by identifying specific ways during that time. So I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I hope this helps. So you're going to have multiple modes, and then you're going to explain and show the learning objectives, the learning goals, and how this measures that, or how the assessment you've chosen will be scored, and the criteria you're using to determine that. And then you're going to talk about adaptations for individual needs of the student. So what might you do? How will you adapt your assessment for a student that is possibly, and you can choose to, if you don't have students already that you can think of or that you would work with, choose, say, one or two different challenges or needs that might need to be addressed, and how you'll adapt the assessments for those students. You're going to write a narrative and talk about how the modes of assessment in your plan align with your learning goals, your objectives, and the learning goals and objectives and standards that you're using. And then you're going to include copies of the assessments, of prompts, of anything that you use or give the students to help assess their work and to see if they met the objectives that you had. And you're going to provide a narrative describing how these were created, how you modified them to make sure that they were valid, and how you made sure that they measured what you wanted them to measure. And then here is the rubric that goes along with that. And so I would just recommend that you aim for exceptional, of course, on all of them. And so you can go through and look at that and see, make sure, almost like having a checklist. I want to make sure that I can check these things off. Now, what I'd like to do is just show you, I'm going to put these in this week's module, but I want to show you that everything looks different. I have 4 different samples here, 4 or 5, and each one of them looks a little different. And so these are just students' work. So while they're used as a sample for you to observe, they're not, please don't use their information to make your own. But you'll see here that this student created a table that showed the modes, the measures, and that sort of thing, and then went through and did the lesson plan, and then showed within the lesson plan for each day the evaluations and the assessments that are going to be used. And so I'm going to provide several different samples, and like I said, you'll see each one looks different because you're different from me and from the other students in the class, so each one is going to look different. This one's a little bit based on the lesson plan the format that they use in their school system, and then some used the Troy format, which I'll provide that as well, but you're welcome to use whatever format as long as it covers all the information. So you should have some samples here of what you need, and here's a copy of the Troy lesson plan that I'll provide you in case you want to use it. But like I said, feel free to use whatever you already use in school. I mean, you may already have a lesson plan developed or a unit plan that you can use. If not, then I'm sure you all have some great ideas, and I look forward to hearing or reading them and hearing more if you have any questions. So I hope that helps you. So really, you're going to create an ELA lesson plan, unit plan for 3 days. So that's 3 lessons. And then your focus is going to be on how you assess the learning to make sure that the students met the objectives, the goals, and that it all addresses the standards that you have. So I hope that helps you understand. If you have any more questions, of course, I'm available anytime. And so I look forward to seeing what you create.